Okay, let's talk Record Store Day 2026 in the month of April. Just a couple of days ago, we had Record Store Day, one of my favorite and every record collector's favorite days. We love, I won't say every, obviously it's one of those things that has become somewhat controversial, and some very loved record collectors in the community have come to be pretty anti-Record Store Day, and I think that it's understandable. Their reasoning is understandable. Record Store Day is complicated. Record stores are often required to purchase large quantities of records that are not necessarily the ones that are going to move quickly. Sometimes record stores get stuck with them. I've talked to my favorite record store, and he's sort of indicated that he usually is always able to sell them. It might take a little bit of time, and usually it's online. But at the same time, when I went to Record Store Day this last weekend. He showed me a record that he bought a lot of, thinking it would sell quickly, and hasn't sold out yet. So it kind of goes both ways. My favorite record store is a record store called St. Marie Records in Fort Worth, Texas, and that's where I decided to go. And what I was most excited about this time for Record Store Day is that for the first time I was going to have friends that went with me. It takes a certain kind of person to get up super early in the morning and get in line for some vinyl records, and you got to really like them. I have some friends at work that I thought might be interested because of, again, a controversial thing, a thing that some record collectors are very frustrated about, and some are very supportive of, which is Taylor Swift vinyl. And I'll probably talk about my perspective on that here at the end when I do get to that vinyl, but I had some coworker friends that wanted to come. However, we, at my school that I work at, had a very busy week, and one of our friends backed out. One of our friends backed out long before the busy week when they heard how early it was going to be. But I did have one coworker who was like, I'm in. I'm all in. Let's go. And I said, okay, well, I like to be in line at 5 o'clock. And they said, okay, let's do it. And then the night before, we had a carnival at our school. And when I got home, I'm checking the weather, and it says it is going to be raining. And like raining during that. And I'm like, oh, man. There's not really much of a covering, not really much of an awning. And even if there is, if you're from Texas, you know that when it rains sideways. And it is hard, heavy, and fast. And no awning can really protect you from some rain. And you're outdoors. You're waiting for the doors to open until they open. So I reached out to my friend and I said, what do you want to do? And ultimately what we decided we were going to do is that we were going to go a little bit closer to opening time, and if we needed to, we would sit in the car and we would just go in as soon as we could. And so that was the plan. So about 6:15, the store opened at 7, and it's about a 15-minute drive from my house. About 6:15, my friend picked me up, because I struggle to drive in the dark and the rain. So about 6:15, my friend picked me up. They they were kind enough to have picked me up a cup of sweet tea from Dutch Brothers. And they took me to the record store. And we decided when we got there, the parking lot wasn't too full. It should be okay. Let's go get in line. We won't have to wait that long. Well, it was deceptive. The line went all the way down the side of the building, turned, and went a good chunk of the way down the building on the side. And we were only there about a half hour, but that half hour of standing in the rain, we were soaked. I had worn a raincoat, luckily, that my wife found me at a thrift store. It is the best find she's ever done, and it has saved me multiple times. And my coworker brought her umbrella, and we were still soaked. And of course, I'm wearing Chuck Taylors, she's wearing checkered Vans. Like these are not the shoes made for that kind of weather. So our feet were soaked, our socks were soaked, our pants were soaked, at least up to the knees, if not higher. If you'd like to see some video of what that weather can look like, I encourage you to go watch Simply Lily's video of her RSD experience, because she's got some actual video footage, and she lives in the same metroplex, not the same town. She wasn't going to the same record store, but we're in the same metroplex as one another. So, anyway, the doors opened, and it took us about 45 minutes or so from where we were at in line to get in the door. Now, let me preface this with this. This was the best record store day list I had seen in a long time, and there's always at least a couple. In fact, I usually go with a list of about 3 records. I was trying to go a little bit more sparing this time because I have bought a fair amount of records in April, and there's explanation you'll see in my April haul. I didn't go too crazy, but I have gotten more records in April than I had intended to get. So I had cut down my list, really. I had several in mind, but I was really there to pick up one record. However, previous to going, I had looked on the website and all the information, and I had seen that my record store only got one copy of this record, and I was a little worried. In fact, the quantities for a lot of the records that I wanted were much smaller than I thought they would be. So I was worried that I was not going to find anything that I wanted. I had no worries about my friend getting her Taylor Swift single because our record store got 150 copies of the record. So I figured we'd be good. But so we go through the line, we get into the store, and several of the records on my list right away are already gone. One of the records I was going to look at was Bruno Mars Collaborations, and this year Bruno Mars is the Record Store Day ambassador, and sure enough, it was sold out. Another record I wanted to look at, and really the record I had come for, was Corinne Bailey Rae's Live at Webster Hall, which was released a long time ago on a CD and DVD format, and it was live in New York and London, and so the CD was live in New York and the DVD was live in London, and I loved both of those. She does a phenomenal, absolutely gorgeous cover of Led Zeppelin, Since I've Been Loving You, on that album, and that is the only album that it's available on, and I desperately wanted to get it on vinyl, but there was only one copy and it was sold out. So I was getting a little worried. Meanwhile, my friend she didn't know exactly what she was there for. She had a few things that she was going to look at. But while we were waiting, we passed by the section where Taylor Swift's regular vinyl were. And so she looked through there and found a copy of one of Taylor Swift's albums she didn't have. And she does, to some extent, variant collect Taylor Swift. So she was very excited to be able to find another variant of an album that she did not yet have. So we continue looking. My friend was very happy when she found Joni Mitchell's album. And it was a stunning album. Visually, the artwork, which if you purchase the album, you may have seen otherwise, you learn that this artwork was originally rejected for the album, but it is absolutely stunning artwork, and it's a stunning pressing too. So the next one that I had been thinking about getting, I did get, and that's this one. That is Paramore, All We Know Is Falling. This is the deluxe edition of the album. And I do have the hype sticker inside the sleeve. I couldn't quite get it off the plastic, but I've saved it inside the sleeve. I will say that, I already own Paramore, All We Know Is Falling. In fact, I own the Fueled by Ramen Anniversary Edition on silver vinyl. And it's a great album. This also comes, the deluxe part of this is that it comes with the Summer Tick EP on a second LP, which has never been released on vinyl before. And so for me to be able to get more Paramore music, I had to do it because Paramore is one of those bands that I have collected every single one of their studio albums, as well as every single one of Hayley Williams' studio albums. I love Hayley Williams. I love Paramore. I want all their stuff. So this was the most expensive album that I picked up at Record Store Day, and I do not regret it. It is on a red and black smoke vinyl. I will say that the smoke is maybe a little bit minimal, but it is still a really pretty color of red, and I don't know how well you can see. The camera's really out of focus. The black smoke on that. But double LP, gatefold, and I'm very pleased to have this in the collection. Now, another album that I was wanting to look at, and I did look at, and I picked up, and I held on to, was this one. And this is Joe Strummer and the Mescaleros, Global A Go-Go. This is the 25th anniversary of this album on splatter vinyl, yellow vinyl with some sort of red and green splatter all over. It really does a great job of matching the cover, I think. And if you don't know who Joe Strummer is, Joe Strummer was once a member of The Clash. He went solo, did 3 albums with the Mescaleros before he passed away of a heart attack. This album has a song on it called Mondo Bongo, which was in the soundtrack for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And when I heard that song, I was like, I love this song. It became one of my all-time favorite songs, but I never listened to the rest of the album. So originally when I was making my list of what I wanted at Record Store Day, I was like, I can't put this album on there. I only like it for one song. But one day while I was doing my arrival duty at school, I stand in a road and make sure no cars pull in until all 5 of our school buses have made their way in. I was listening to this album and I realized I adore it. Like, every track on it was so good, and this quickly became an album I wanted very badly. So I was very thrilled to get this, and it was a great price. I believe it was just $29.98, something like that. Very reasonable. It's a double LP, and so I picked that up. Another album that I looked pretty hard at and ultimately decided not to get, even though I would have happily added it to the collection, but this was really like if I have to limit it, if I have to cut down my quantity, I'm going to let this go, was a Drive-Thru Records compilation that had some great stuff on it, some early Newfound Glory and other bands. And there was a lot of bands to like on there, but really Newfound Glory was the band I knew the most. I would have been getting it just based off of knowing the record label and knowing that I was probably going to like a lot of the other bands, but not really any specific knowledge. And so it was a lot to spend money on for something that I wasn't 100% sure of. Plus, I knew I was also going to get 2 copies of this next album because I was getting these for coworker friends who originally were going to come with us and then ultimately decided not to. And that's the Taylor Swift 7-inch album, Elizabeth Taylor. Now, one of my friends, one of my coworkers at work was very thrilled to get this and immediately was like, yes, I definitely want it, and Venmo'd me the money, and I gave her the album, and it was perfect. The other friend decided that she wasn't really that interested, which is totally fine, especially once my friend that went with me posted her picture of the album, and I saw how absolutely gorgeous this album was, and I was like, you know what? I wouldn't mind having that in my collection anyway. I do like Taylor Swift, and the last time I got one of her 7-inches, I gave it away. But look at this album. This is absolutely gorgeous. It looks kind of blue right now, but it's really purple. And then when you get closer, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but there is, oh yeah, you can see it right there. There is glitter all over this. And it is absolutely stunning. And it's a 7-inch, so it's just 2 songs. It's a regular version of Elizabeth Taylor. Sorry about the blurriness. It's a regular version of Elizabeth Taylor, and then there's like a remixed version on the B-side, but it's a great addition. So ultimately, I just ended up getting 2 LPs and 1 7-inch for the collection, but they're things I'm really pleased that I got. I had a good time. I left with a story. My coworker and I went from there. We were debating because we were cold and wet, but we had planned on going to get breakfast. So we went from there, grabbed some quick Chick-fil-A. I picked up Chick-fil-A for the family that was sleeping back home. And then she brought me home. And when I woke up the whole family, I woke them up with some delicious breakfast. And we had a great day. So that's my Record Store Day story. I am looking forward to Black Friday. And see what there is then. Hopefully I can get some friends to go with me to that too. It definitely made it a lot more fun.